Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about the Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 7. It's called Oga for Oga. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And that title, of course, is what was written on the floor, which, unlike the characters in the show, we didn't know what it meant, obviously, but we said, something's in Swedish. That was our...
Yes, I don't know why they assumed name.
Now to be fair, it did look like the for Oga, the second one looked like one word to me. It looked like two words. It looked like Oga and then for Oga.
Okay, fair enough.
The way it was written, but I didn't think it was a name. I never assumed it was a name, but I'm not complaining because it led to the single funniest moment of this entire season so far, which was Diego phoning some random woman with this name and saying, "You killed one of ours, so you're gonna be dead by sundown." Only for Five to say, yeah, that's not a name, it's just eye for an eye in Swedish. Diego goes, "Oh, wrong number, sorry, have a nice day."
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That was great. That was great. Honestly, this episode, for the most part, I think, has more positives than negatives. There's still, not everything's clicking, not everything's firing.
This was an episode where I felt how I'm kind of checked out on the season. Because like the whole plot is, hey, here's your briefcase to let you go back to 2019, but you've only got an hour and a half, and obviously it's episode 7, so we know they're not going to. But in a better show or a show I'm into, that doesn't matter. Whereas in this one, I just kind of felt like going through the motions because I know they're gonna fail. Okay,
I can kind of see what you mean by that, and I don't necessarily disagree so much. At the same time, though, I actually thought that ticking time element, even if I knew they were going to fail, actually gave it much needed energy. It felt like there was a drive to the episode where they all had this time to be somewhere, so they're all kind of moving and they're all trying to get things done and have conversations with people before time runs out. It was actually the quickest moving episode of the season because of that. And I really liked the opening. Five going to kill the board.
That was fun. Yeah,
was a really enjoyable scene. Five teleporting around the room killing people. Although I did think there's like a sort of like a minor character that he runs into on the way into this Twin Peaks looking hotel.
It's very Twin Peaks, isn't it?
It just looked very Twin Peaks. And I thought, oh, this woman's doing like an accent, right? But her accent seemed to fade a bit sometimes. It's like she was
It came in really strong on her last. It was like a Minnesota accent.
Yeah. There's a Fargo style accent. Yeah. But it seemed to like the first line kind of had it, and then it seemed to like fade away into more of a normal American accent. And then when she showed up at the end of the fight, if she was like full Minnesota again, it was.
And it's really distinct because obviously they're in Dallas.
Yes.
So it sticks out.
Yeah, it very much sticks out. But I enjoyed the thing. I enjoyed the smashing of the fishbowl head and all that.
Little disappointed we didn't get more from the fish.
Well, the fish is technically still around. The fish himself is still in the bowl in the office, so we might
true
might get a return to Fishman at some point.
What I really did like at the end where he's running away or trying to run away, you can just see even when like Five's got him, he's holding him, he's about to, he's already hit him once or twice in the body with the bat, I think, at this point. The fish itself is still just swimming away, like it's trying to swim out of the glass. I thought that was a nice touch.
No, most of that stuff is pretty good. It's funny because I'm saying that this episode, I think I appreciate having a bit more of a drive than most of the episodes so far. It does kind of lead up, though, to a sequence that... It's funny because we've been talking about a lot this season about how last season had a lot more fights set to music and things like that. This episode actually has one later in the episode, but I actually thought it felt kind of odd and forced. It was kind of weird. And this isn't just because Scream Queens had a fight scene with the same song and it was way better. This is not...
I mean, it doesn't help. That was my first thoughts while watching it went to that, not anything it was doing. And
it just felt... I don't know, because Backstreet's Back starts playing, and it kind of kicks in almost out of nowhere. It doesn't really feel like the scene that kind of sets up the start of the song really felt like it earned that type of song, I guess. It felt really weird. And then Allison's whole fight with the Swedes, where the two Swedes show up, they're trying to kill her and Raymond. And there's bits in the fight that I liked. I liked the ending with her making the one kill the other one.
I like the touch that their first thing, they obviously know about her, so the very first thing they do is hit her in the throat.
Yeah, no, it was smart, yeah. And it doesn't like disable her for too long, but it's enough that in the initial struggle she can't just say anything. She's
and enough that they think, oh, that'll give us an advantage and enough time to get this done, which is a reasonable assumption, I think, on their part, as they're, trained assassins.
Yeah, but she ends up stabbing one in the eye. Basically there's the main one who obviously there's a reason why he's the last one standing, because he's the one that we kind of recognise the most and is clearly the main of the three. But he ends up killing the other one because Alison tells him to, with her power, obviously. And the scene's fine, but it was just kind of this thing. I remember last season, like, so many of the action scenes that played to like over the top songs, there were a lot more kind of extravagant, and this was like a sort of like just a simple sort of. I know I say simple, and it is a little over the top compared to other things, but it was essentially just two characters struggling and eventually one stabbing the other in the eye. It wasn't like last season when you'd have two characters in mass like just blowing up mannequins left and right in the department store. There
was often lots of slow motion moments in those sequences.
It felt really weirdly. The song just it felt forced. It felt forced to be. They were going for like a quirkiness to it, and nothing about the scene felt quirky though. Whereas I think a lot of those action scenes in season 1 had quirky elements as well as the song. So the song kind of enhanced it.
Part of why the comparison to Scream Queens comes about, because it's a very quirky show, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And this is inherently a fairly quirky show. So if you're going to be that same style of humor, I guess, and then use the same song for an action sequence, my brain is going to go places.
And the best scene of this season is still the Swedish Adele song with the Viking funeral. So it's not like they don't know how to still use a song in the right place and have the effect that they're going for. This one felt really out of touch to me. But so some plots that I think were good. I actually, probably because it actually wasn't Klaus's plot, it was actually Ben's plot in the episode, but I thought all that stuff was particularly much better than Klaus's stuff has been. Seeing Ben be happy to finally like feel the ground under his feet, and even the joke that Klaus has already had sex with this woman when she's like, wait, what do you mean you're a virgin? What about last week with both of us and the other one?
Like, on the sex thing.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Klaus, this anger from him. That was a funny beat, and it was just honestly Ben and Klaus's body is, I think, because even some of my favorite visuals from this episode is when he's trying to push Ben out, so we get this sort of image, especially when it's the one where they're almost at the alley and he pushes sort of Ben up the way, so like Ben's like upper half is like sort of sticking out the top of the body, and he sort of pulls himself back down. That visual was pretty fun, and I enjoyed that. I think it almost made me go, why isn't the entire plot for Klaus and Ben this season being this at the forefront? Why isn't it being about Ben?
It took way too long to get to.
Because the idea of like Klaus sort of like time sharing his body so Ben can sort of live a little. Because even the scene with where he proves that it's Ben to Diego when Diego comes to see him is actually kind of sweet. It's a side of Diego we don't usually see.
Diego's reaction is really nice to see. Yeah.
So it was good, but I also actively annoy me that we've been doing all this other stuff with Klaus all season. We could have been doing this instead. What are you doing? So that stuff, fine. And then everything with Raymond. And I'm not going to lie, right? And I'm going to praise something here because I actually think the moral quandary for Alison here is really good. I kind of forgot she had a daughter until she said it.
Me too. They haven't done much with kind of. No one's mentioned it all season.
No. So, and this is the thing. I actually like the. Because if she didn't have a daughter, right, and Luther's like, hey, it's time to go back, I expect her to be conflicted. The obvious drama beat to play is that, she wants to stay with her husband, she likes her life here now, regardless of the time period and all the troubles that brings. But her first thing she says, which I love, is, well, you're telling me I can see my daughter tonight. And it's almost like, no, she's always going to pick to go back. Like, as much as she might love Raymond, she might love him more than she's ever loved any man or significant other in her life, but her daughter is in the future.
And to Raymond's credit, he understands this.
Yes, he understands this. And she even asked for him to go with, and he's just too devoted to his fight, to his cause.
At no point is he, being jealous or petty and being no, you should stay with me. He understands.
It's actually quite sweet the way he says that he's, because she says, do you want me to use my powers to, make you forget.
Make you forget.
And he's like,
so
no,
it doesn't hurt.
I want this year of memories. Like, I'd rather have this year, and I mean, better to have loved than lost, and blah blah blah. Although, as far as endings go, as much as you're heartbroken, it has to end. This is not a breakup in the traditional sense, where they hate each other's guts now. It's a very different thing.
It's pretty civil.
Yeah. So no, I thought once again, Alice and Raven's plot to the best of the individual ones. I think.
It's been consistent all season, and has. I think it's notable that Raymond is the only side character that we care about, right? It's the only one that it's spent any time doing a good plot with, and developing as a character in his own right as well, not just he's just stood next to Allison every so often.
Yeah. Because I like when Raven walked in and Luther was hugging her because she's sort of getting emotional about having to leave, but maybe seeing her daughter again. And Luther's like the last time Five tried to jump us somewhere, it was very unpredictable. So I'm not going to promise you can see your daughter again, but it's possible. Like, he's saying that we can go home, and when Raven walks in, I like that kind of moment because it felt. To the show's credit, one of the worries when they introduced this plot at the start and we kind of rolled our eyes was, oh, okay, I love Triangle with Luther again. This is great news. To its credit, I don't think when Raymond walked in here and sort of questioned, what did you say to her, Luther? It never felt like a love triangle thing in any way.
No, it wasn't that sort of accusation.
No, it was more just what's going on. What have you said to upset her? Not that he's mad at him per se, he's just deeply, he wants to know. He needs to know, why is his wife crying right now? So to his credit, I'll give it there. And by contrast, everything with Vanya's plot is still not doing anything for me.
No, it's not great, is it?
Husband's like, well, I'm threatened to send my own child away to a hospital unless you leave. Bold move, Cotton. We'll see how that plays out for him. So Vanya obviously runs back to Sissy and is like, hey, we need to go now. He threatened to do this. We have to leave. Let's go. But he's already called his police buddies or whoever to cut them off in the road. Vanya has to. This is actually the end and the cliffhanger of the episode. Is that obviously they don't make it back to the alleyway to go home. Nor does Allison because of the fight with the Swedes. Nor does Diego. We'll get to why he's not there at the end in a minute. And yeah, she uses her powers, knocks some of them back, but one of them does knock her out. So it seems like she's taken captive.
Yeah, and now obviously these all know about her powers now.
Yeah.
Because they obviously didn't before.
Yeah. It's just everything, the whole scene where he takes her out to the farm or wherever, and he tells a story about the cows getting sick.
Foot and mouth disease.
Yeah. That's not what he called it, though. What did he call it? It was calf and mouth?
Hoof and mouth,
Hoof and mouth, there you go. That was what it was.
Yeah, but obviously we just know it as foot and mouth. I mean, same thing when you're a cow.
Same thing, yeah. Foot and mouth is easy to remember.
It is. It rolls off the tongue a bit better, but I don't know if that's just because we've, gotten used to saying that.
Yeah. Plus, also putting your foot in your mouth is a saying, so it just kind of
sure, yeah,
links up with that nicely. I don't know, but that whole scene really just was kind of painfully boring to me. It was just obviously this is building up to him saying, go away, because he turns around, he's like, oh, you have to cut off the disease before it spreads, and he looks her right in the eye, and it just, nothing about it is interesting or I don't think he's a bad actor per se. I just think it's written in a very tropey, trite way that doesn't inspire any kind of engagement in the audience.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's his fault. I don't think anyone really salvages this situation.
Yeah, and I've liked Ellen Page in many things, so I don't think it's her fault either.
I've liked her in lots of things, including season 1 of this show.
There you go. Yes, solid example. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, I just every time it cuts to that plot, because we're at this point in the season though where I know what I like and I know what I don't like. So the things that I don't like, whenever it cuts to them, I'm just kind of like, one of these scenes.
I'm hoping maybe this Vanya plot, where it ends, might actually be drastically different for the last couple episodes and maybe more interesting because.
Yeah, maybe going completely different places. Diego, Lila kidnaps him, and even though she took a sip of the drink first, I felt weird about it. I was like, there's something fishy with this. There's something fishy. And he starts to collapse within seconds of taking a swig.
Yeah, and she
I'm
just
like,
spits it out because she just didn't swallow it because she's smart.
yeah, I'm like, there you go, you idiot. That's kind of the running joke in it, is that he thinks he's Batman, but he's kind of an idiot.
Pretty much.
that's what it is.
Do you know what? I saw a great comparison. As like this, it's Diego is to Batman what Homelander is to Superman. Not in that he's evil or anything like that, just in the same way that he thinks he's that thing, but really he's just easily manipulated and a bit useless.
Yeah. If there's one thing you can say about Batman, is that he's not someone who's manipulated easily, and someone who typically is 10 steps ahead of most people, the odd exception aside.
Diego definitely is not.
And he wakes up in the handler's office, and it seems like Lila wants to recruit him because now she's head of security, and she's like, "This is my boyfriend, Mom."
And he's like, "What? Am I?"
I think it's both that, because even though Five said she was evil and she was working for the commission, he never actually mentioned that she was the handler's daughter. So even that as well, I think, is like, wait, what? Mom?
Yeah.
Boyfriend? What's going on?
Understandable. Yeah. I'm with him on this one.
Yeah. I mean, the handler stuff's fine. It's just kind of like moving forward. Yeah. I've not necessarily liked or disliked any of her stuff this season. It's just kind of been there. Yeah. No positive or negative. So if we're not talked about, Luthor doesn't really have his own stuff, right?
No, he doesn't really do anything. He just hangs around with Five, try to get to the alley, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously goes to Allison. That's kind of...
Yeah.
That's one thing.
That's about it.
Yeah, he doesn't really have it. That's the thing. Ever since he got kicked out of the apartment that he was in, he's not really had his own plot. He's just kind of been there around Elliot and Five or whoever.
Some of that early stuff with him feels really redundant right now.
Unless somehow the gangster stuff comes back into things.
Which it might.
Yeah, it might very well.
This time, but it's been like, what, 3-4 episodes now, it feels like, where he's just kind of done nothing, really, in terms of his own plot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I don't want to be too down on this one, because I actually think it's one of the better episodes of the season overall. I think it had an energy that most of the episodes didn't have. Even though I didn't like the Vanya scenes for the most part, there was still an urgency to her having this ticking time bomb. And then she has that standoff with Five, and Five's like, you can't bring these people with you. This is not how it works. And there's a moment where the powers are both starting to get ready to go. Five is going to stand his ground, and they back down. She still says to Sissy that you're coming with me, though. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get a hint of what that would have went down as if she had shown up to the alleyway with everyone else with her. But it did have an urgency. It felt like there was a reason to move, which I think one of my biggest complaints of the season overall is just how laid back, and it feels like nothing's. Even though the plot of the season has a built-in time bomb to the apocalypse, no one cares about it. So
yeah, I feel like it's been mostly following the same format as last season, where each kind of episode's give or take a day, and it's counting down. But I haven't felt like we're getting closer for a long time now.
No, it feels so kind of, I don't want to say tacked on, but the main plot almost feels like more of an afterthought in this season, where once we go into all these individual plots, there's very little, concerned for it. I guess it's. And that was kind of true in season 1, but I think the way season 1 did it is that it always made Five's plot to save the world feel like the main plot, and the rest were all kind of like feeding in, or would eventually feed into it. Because we already did that in season 1, I think all of Five stuff this year feels like kind of a rehash, even though he's entertaining typically. So it doesn't have that same kind of like anchoring quality to it where it kind of glues everything together.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the problem is, like I said, that the main plot feels like a bit of an afterthought, which I wouldn't mind if the other stuff was, all compelling drama, but it's not. It's been quite hit or miss at best. Let's be honest.
Yeah, so it's a very mixed bag. And some episodes have fared better than others. 4 being the down one, where we sat and ranted for half an hour about why it's not good.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, so there was things to like in this episode. There was definitely moments to like. Probably the funniest moment was that phone call the whole season so far for me.
That was up there.
Yeah, and I like the Ben stuff. I think more of the Ben stuff could be good, especially with the and we should probably mention that Klaus got rid of him by vomiting him out, Exorcist style.
Yeah, looked pretty good.
Yeah, I thought most of that stuff looked quite good actually.
Yeah, it did.
And obviously the Ben effect didn't have to look realistic because he's like a ghost. So, but I just thought it looked good. I guess what I'm saying is don't mistake good for realistic. Is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a difference. But I liked the effect, and that's kind of what matters here.
Yeah. Well, I think probably like 8 times out of 10, good does mean realistic, because most of the time when you're talking about CG, if it's good, it's, oh, does it look photoreal? Does it look like it blends into the scene? But this is one of these cases where we're talking more about the stylistic approach of it, just fitting the mood, the tone, and just creating a nice visual as opposed to anything else. The effect ultimately is the same though, is it doesn't stick out and take you out at the moment because it looks bad.
Well, yeah, and that is important.
Yeah, so there you go. So there you go, that's episode 7 of Real Academy. And with a bit of luck, we'll be back tomorrow again with episode 8. So we'll get into this sort of the end game of the season, the final 3, I guess. And I suppose this did kind of feel like it's going into maybe a final act, in a way. Or arguably it feels like it's going into Act 2 finally.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest with how it feels like it's finally going into Act 2 of 3.
Yeah, that's more accurate.
Oh well, that's what it is. We'll see how it wraps up. That's episode 7. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments. Please do liking super important on YouTube. It's the easiest and free way to support everything we do. More people will find us as a result. You can, of course, support us financially over at patreon.com/MailedFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and help keep all the content coming. Get some bonuses for your troubles. You can also get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again. And I'll take this time. I'll probably try and remember to promote this at the end of every episode now. But The Boys Season 2 is coming soon. And, there's a reason why you might be interested in that if you're at Umbrella Academy. There's definitely some overlap in premise and sort of audience, I'd say. So... that's an Amazon Prime show. We did review the first season, all 8 episodes, and we were very surprised with how good that first season was. So if you haven't seen it, go back and check it out.
High expectations going into season 2 now.
Yeah, 8 episode season, so it's not too hard to catch up on, and maybe watch all of our reviews in between each episode. It's the best way to watch anything, really, let's be honest. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?